So in this episode we are going to prepare the peacock feathers, and each one is looking like this. These are going to be the tail feathers of our peacock, and it's not an embroidery technique. The technique I'm using is called shuttle tatting, and I'm going to show you how to make one of these. So you may never have heard of shuttle tatting before. It's a lace making technique for which we need one of these kind of shuttles. It really makes tatting easier if you have a shuttle. There's also something called needle tatting, so if you know how to do that, you could probably make the feathers by needle tatting, but I'm using a shuttle today. So if you want to follow along and it's your first try in tatting, try to organize one of these. You can get these on Amazon, and they're really great to work with. Now, what is shuttle tatting? I would like to show you one of my first pieces I ever made. It's a small snowflake, and as you can see, it's an intricate design of lace making, and each of these pieces consists of either a ring-like structure like those, or you have a chain structure like these ones, and on top of each of those you could attach these little picots, as they are called, and create some intricate designs. Now, shuttle tatting is used for a lot of different things. You could make just an art piece like this one. You can create some decoration for your table, but you also could use make something that you could use on your hem of a shirt or anything. And as I told you, we're going to make one of these feathers together, and you need a couple of those for the peacock tail. And as you can see, there are some beads that we're using today. I'm using some Miyuki beads, but you really can use whatever beads you like. Just make sure they are comparable in size to your thread you're using. The thread I'm using today is this metallic thread. It's just a regular metallic thread that you can buy on Amazon as well. And to make your life easier to work, you need some sharp scissors. I'm using this one. It's good if you have a longer, sharper point to be able to cut the thread like close to the design. That's what you want. And it also helps to have a needle at hand. It makes your life easier to sew in the open end in the end, and also it's used to it's also used to attach the beads to the thread. Now, to attach your thread to the shuttle, you need to make a knot and tie it tightly. As you can see, there's a hole inside the shuttle, and you pull the thread through and just knot it and tie it together. And this is how you start your tatting. And you also need to get enough thread onto the shuttle, and that's done by wrapping it around the shuttle. And we're gonna do that really quick, and then I'm going to show you how to make the basic knots. Now, if you want to start your tatting, and this might be your first time using this technique, while wrapping the thread around the shuttle, it helps to go in this direction, so anti-clockwise. It really helps to avoid problems while tatting, because if you wrap it the wrong way, it can get in the way when you're working, and you do not want that. And you want to avoid problems at all costs, right? So we're gonna wrap, just neatly wrap around the thread, and you can either stack the shuttle entirely, or if you just want to make one, you need at least 75 centimeters of thread for the design we're making. So for each of those feathers, peacock feathers we need about 75 centimeters of yarn. So this should be enough. And now I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to show you how to tie the basic knot. Alright, I'm going to show you how to make the knots in shuttle tatting, and I'm using this yarn simply because it's showing a lot better, because I assume some of you have never heard of this technique before and it's your first time trying, and I really want to be able to capture what you need to see. And the metallic thread is a bit more glistening, and you cannot see the knots that well, so I'm gonna show you with this one. So to start with, you take your loose end into your left hand and pinch it between your thumb and ring finger. That's the way I do it. And then, if you know crochet, you already know how to wrap it around your fingers like this. So you want to make a loop around your hand, and I use my pinky to keep it a bit more straight. So it should look like this. You are having a little cross in here, and you pinch it with your fingers. And then you have on your right hand, in your right hand, you have the shuttle, and you need some kind of length between it. It shouldn't be too long, because otherwise it's getting in the way, but you also don't want it to be too short, so it's easier to work with. And what you're gonna do is you take your fingers for the first half knot, you're opening up the thread like this, and you're moving your shuttle down here like this, and then you go move your shuttle in between your fingers like this, so in between here, and once you're on the other side, you move it back above the thread of your left hand and through the hole the loop you just created like this, and you pull it out. Now you have a little loop here, and what you want to do, which is a bit different from crochet, if you're using crochet, if you know how to do crochet, you usually pull this straight. You don't want this in shuttle tatting, you want it to be loose on the left side. So if you pull with your right hand, the loop here turns, see? And once it turns, that's exactly what you want, because that enables the final knot to move around. And I will show you once we finish the knot. So this is half a knot. Your first half knot looks a bit strange because just beginning. To finish the knot, make the second half, you also need to do the same movement in the opposite direction. So you come here and move your shuttle through, and also again through the loop you just created, and that's how you do it. Again, keep this one loose, so the loop here turns around, and then you can pull it by moving up your finger, and that's it. That's the first knot that's moving freely around the thread. Now if you move it to the right side, it creates an more open space around your left hand, and you can play with that so you feel comfortable while tatting. And this is secure already. You don't need to do anything to keep it in place. The first knot already ties your your work together. I'm going to show you again how to do these knots, because it's quite complicated to grasp that concept. It took me a while until I finally realized how easy it really is to do so. So first half knot, take your fingers, move your shuttle below your right hand strand, and then come through in between, move it up and move it through the loop you just created with your right hand. Keep the left hand strand loose and pull with your right hand until you have a turn in here, and then you can pull it with your fingers of the left hand and close the knot. And this is 1.5 knots. Now to finish off the second knot, you want to reverse the movement. So you're coming in from this side, creating a loop like this. You move your shuttle through the strands and through the loop you just created. And again, keep the left hand strand loose until the loop turns around, and then you can pull it straight. And these are 2 knots, and as you can see, each knot looks like a little bulb, and that's how you count them, right? If you're unsure how many knots you already made, it can happen over time. Just ensure you count these bulbs, and you also can see very easily if you have only half a knot in front and missing the second half. I'll show you this in a moment. So we're doing another half knot, and then I'm going to show you right here. As you can see, it looks unfinished in the front, and you cannot really count it as well. So that's how to know that you did not finish your knot. Always make finished knots in order to have a beautiful result. And this is 3 knots in total. So I'm going to do a couple more of these, and then I'm going to show you how to create this ring-like structure that we're using for the peacock feathers. You need a total of at least 6 or 7 knots if you're working along, just to make it more visible, to make these loops. If you're making a longer chain of knots for the test, and that works as well. It means your loop will, your ring will be a lot bigger, and that's how you vary the designs in shuttle tatting. Now, if you have a chain of knots like these should also be able to move along freely. You see, each knot should be moving. It's so important that it can, because this ensures that we are able to close the ring completely. Now, if you have a long chain, it might look a bit strange like this, but don't worry. If you close them, if you move them to the right side, they will look nice and neatly as they did before. And as you can see, you can count these very well, because each knot looks like a little bulb. So if we want to close our ring, if we have enough of these knots, then we're pinching our work in the front, and just pinch it like this and pull the right strand. Remove the thread from your left hand, just let it hang loosely and pull until you finally create a ring-like structure. As you can see, it's already bending. If we pull a little more and close it completely, then we have a nice ring-like structure like this. And now, oftentimes these don't look very good. This one is already really pretty, but you can also pull at it at several points to make it look a bit bigger, and shape it a bit more into the design you want it to have. So you can make it a bit more oval shaped or a bit more round, depending to your taste. And also you can make it look a lot neater if it came out strange. As you can see, it's a bit bigger now. So now that you know how to make a ring structure in shuttle tatting, and we have our shuttle with the thread, we can apply the beads to it, and we're using a needle to attach the beads onto the thread. It's a lot easier to do it this way. You don't necessarily need a needle, but it actually helps and makes your life so much easier. In this case, it's a bit finicky to get the thread onto the needle. I managed. Right, so as I told you before, I'm using Yuki beads, and we need a total of 10 beads for each feather. If you're a beginner, start by doing one feather after the other, one by one. It makes your life a lot easier, because it can be a bit difficult to work with beads. And if you have too many to handle, then that can be a pain, a bit of pain. So just take 10 for one feather and slide them over to your thread. And then we can remove the needle, and if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can cut this open end a little bit so it's neater. I don't usually. All I do is I pinch it a bit above, and then you can work with that as well, and thereby we avoid some waste. Now, if you're using beads in your shuttle tatting, you want to make sure that you exactly know how many you need and on which side. Let's see if I can, yes, better. And we need one on the right side, so slide it over, and you need a total of 9 on the left hand. So you open here and just slide them over, and you can keep them here. They don't disturb you if they are around your pinky. So now you do first half knot, and you need to ensure that this bead right here stays where it is, and that can be a bit tricky if you're starting out, but most of the time, as you can see, it's moving freely, and that's what you want. So now we're starting our project, and to make our life a little bit easier, we should, from the beginning, weave in the loose end that we have here. And to do so, you're not finishing the first knot right away. If you're doing the second half knot and you made the turn in here, just leave it as a loop like this, and take your loose end and move it up a bit, because the tool for tatting has this wonderful tip that's used to pull it through. And what you want is to keep your loose end parallel and in the same direction of your working strand on your right hand. And then if you pull it through, it looks a bit different. It's going parallel, and you can still move the knot around. That's important. And we do so for the second knot as well. And for each half knot, we are pulling through the loose end like this. So now the strand of the right hand goes down and through the loop, and we ensure that it does so with the open end. Also make sure that you move along your bead, that it's not in the way. We don't want it to get stuck here, we need it later. And so you secure your open strand. And once again, take it always with you. And now you have 2 knots, and the open end is still intact right here. Now for the 3rd knot, you make the half knot as I've shown you, and you pull through your open end, close the half knot, and then what you do is you split both ends like this, and you cut the open end with really sharp scissors. That's why I was talking about having a sharp tip. It's really helpful, so you can get it really close here, and it's easier to cut right. And then you finish the 3rd knot, and if you do that correctly, you cannot see anything of the remains of the open thread, open end, and it's tucked in neatly, and it's a clean edge of your design. So you have 3 knots on your hand, and that's when we start to apply the first bead. So to apply the bead, do half a knot just as you would regularly, and in between those knots you're taking one of the beads of your left hand and place it on top, and then you finish off the knot with the 2nd half knot. If you do this correctly, your bead will fall into place, and the left hand strand will go under the bead, and that's perfect. Also, you can start the next knot, and in a similar way, if you do it correctly, the knot will fall below the bead, and so it goes to the right side. Now if you have the problem, let's say your loop structure will fall over the bead, take the tip of your tool and remove it. You can, slide it over like this. That's what you want. So now we have 3 knots, a beaded knot and 1 simple knot, and we do another simple knot. Always make sure you take along the bead on your right hand to the other side. We need it later for the tip of the feather. But for now, do 2 knots in between the bead. That's what you want. So now that we have 2 knots as spacers between each bead, we can make the next knot with a bead. So make a regular half knot, first half knot, and then place the next bead from your left hand on top and close the knot off. That's what you want. Make another 2 spacing knots. Take your bead of the right hand with you whenever it gets in the way. And if you are running out of space on your left hand, you can pull this strand and make it more open. And then we apply a 3rd bead. So we do half knot, regular, and then take the bead and close the knot off like this. Then we do another 2 knots, and then we're already at the tip of our feather. Now, now we're at the tip of our feather. We do another regular half knot. The difference between the first 3 beads and now is we are doing the part in which we have 4 beads. So we're using the right hand bead now and slide it over here, and we take from the left side, we're taking 3 beads. So it should look like this when you're working, and then you're finishing the second knot. You don't need to worry too much about it because the beads will fall into place just like this. As you can see, they fell beautifully into place. Really nothing to worry about. And then we need 2 more spaces. And work the rest of this ring in the same way we did with the first. So after 2 spaces, we need a beaded knot. Again, 2 spaces. If you're trying to do your own designs, always make sure you have 1 spacing knot in between beaded knots. It makes your work a lot more beautifully. So you need at least 1 knot in between, but for this particular design we use 2 spacing knots between the beads. And once you have those, you can make another beaded knot until you have all 3 remaining beads woven into the design. So now it should look like this. So you have 3 beads, then the 4 beads and another 3 beads, and it might turn a little. It's not too much to worry about. Just try to keep it straight and it looks like this. Now we're finishing off with another 3 knots as we did in the beginning. Since we have no beads on our thread, we're doing just 3 regular knots before we are allowed and able to close our ring. And so now you're able to close your ring by pulling the right hand strand. Now in my case, the thread I'm using is really stiff. That's what making the sound. It shouldn't always be making sounds, depends on the strand of yarn you use. But as you can see, we already have a beautiful ring-like structure and we have applied our beads. Now for the feathers, we do another ring-like structure right on top of it. And this one consists of 6 knots, simple knots. So what we're gonna do is we pinch our work here right at the tip, and if you have trouble with a strand that's wrapping around itself, that's just part of the process. It's normal in tatting. Just let your shuttle hang like this and it will release the tension. Right, so we are pinching our work right here and we start another ring. If you need to, release more thread from the shuttle. And then we are making a total of 6 knots in a row. Try to get those as close to the beginning as you can. There will be some sort of space between those, but it becomes a lot neater if you manage to get it close enough. So just make 6 simple knots, and then we can close that ring again. Again, to close it, just keep it between your fingers and pull. You can also help with the tip of your tool to create the roundness a bit more easily if you have a stubborn thread like I'm using here. Now you have the finished piece. Now all you need to do is to cut the thread to some length. Now I'm using a lot of length because in my case the thread is very stubborn and easily breaks. It's a thing with metallic threads that they are not as durable. So I'm keeping a bit more length. Just to make my life easier in case it breaks, I can cut off the remains of the open end now and then work it in. And once you have it on your needle, we need to sew it in to the design to make it close. Now you can sew it in the way you feel comfortable. Always make sure you go in between the knots or along the knots to make it more beautiful, like this. And also don't pull too hard so it doesn't the second ring doesn't get tilted to one side. And that's all you need to do. Just sew it in, and the thread will be totally invisible once you're finished. Again, the thread is a little bit more stubborn than other threads, and that can be a pain to work with. It helps to have really neat working, makes it a little bit easier. Yet again, it's the thread. It's not naturally you working badly. It's sometimes it is your materials that's a bit tricky to work with. So just sew it in a couple of times. It's, as you can see, it's not visible anymore. If you do it correctly, it just vanishes into the design, and that's what you want. Right. If you need to cut it, then make sure that it's being cut closely to the design so that it doesn't show. You can do so like this, and that's how you do the feathers. As you can see, it turned out pretty nice, and we need a couple of those to prepare the peacock tail.